Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
What's up, guys? Today we discuss about very important topic for many people today, for students, for young people who are looking for ways how to grow today, how to create their startups, how to grow. And I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Palakh Khanna. How are you?
I just love the energy. So, hi everyone, I am Palak, and it's such a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Yeah, for me it's a big pleasure because I love learning. I love to get something new. And what I found on your LinkedIn profile, you don't copy others. You have your own journey, unique way. So tell more about yourself, experience, background, and why you decided to share with us about your story.
Okay, so hi everyone, I am Palak. I am 19 years old. So, in terms of what I do, I am a full time student as of now, but I love to, venture out on things I'm passionate about. I have my own organization. I'm a social entrepreneur. It's called Break the Ice, where we try to literally break the ice about taboo topics and stigmatized topics. Everything that society doesn't want to talk about, essentially. And along with that, I'm working as a regional officer for Asia Pacific. And yes, and all things sustainable, basically. So that's a little bit about my journey, honestly.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love it that you get this information that you need to break the ice, in this age because it took for a while for me to understand that I don't need to copy others. It's better to be yourself, to find unique way, because if you copy others, nobody cares, because it's the same. People wanna get something new. Can you tell how you found these ideas to be yourself, to find unique way, and to break ice for someone else?
Okay, so I think that's an interesting question. For the longest time, I have been the biggest introvert. I used to never talk to anyone. I just had a close group of friends and close ones that I used to just talk about my daily life with, not even my emotions or feelings. Fast forward to the pandemic, I overheard this conversation between my mom and my domestic help. She had had her periods at our place. She was shying away from the conversation, and I took my mom to the side and I told her, "What are we doing? This is the 21st century. Why are we not talking about things which are natural, and why are we pushing forward the stigmas?" So I think that is where the idea came from. And I just thought to myself, as an introvert, I don't even talk about my feelings. How am I supposed to talk about things which are not talked about? But then I thought I'll just take the leap of faith. If it works, it works. Otherwise, we will try to, break those taboos in whichever way possible. So that's how Break the Ice was formed. We thought not just menstruation, anything taboo, and we'll cover it. So mental health, gender equality, climate change, menstruation, anything and everything.
Nice, nice. Love it, love it. For me, it's very important to be yourself. It doesn't matter. Introvert, extrovert, it's better to be yourself. Once I read a book about a girl. She was introvert, so introvert. But when she decided to post content about herself, a million people started to follow her. Million people are the same, so she could surround herself with a million followers who don't want to copy someone who, I don't know, copy others, because you can be a bad copy, but you can be unique by playing yourself. Love it. Okay. I'm interested about breaking the ice. Can you tell how you formed this name? I love it. I like it because for me it's very important to use not generic methods. So, any ideas how you formed this name?
So I think after the moment when I realized I want to create a platform like this, I thought, what should I name it that would not just interest people but also be very very meaningful. And in a conversation, we were talking about breaking the ice with strangers, and that's when it clicked to me. Why not name it something which people would want to talk about? When you say break the ice, people are like, "What are we breaking the ice about?" Because if you randomly tell them about taboo topics, they would be like, "Why are we talking about it?" We're not supposed to talk about them. And the moment you say break the ice, you realize, okay, it's the ultimate aim. You are breaking the ice about things which are important. So I think that's
Okay, let's talk about engagement on LinkedIn. I see your people love your content. A lot of engagement, likes, comments. So, any insights how to do it? Because many content creators struggle to get high engagement, and they use best practices. I usually tell them don't use best practices because uh, best practices are good for someone, but if you're good with writing but best practice is to film, it's not good idea. It's better to use your strong side. Any tips for someone how to find the best practice that works for them and get this engagement?
Okay, so I think I really don't practice any strategies in general. I've been experimenting with everything that I'm passionate about. So I think it's just about being yourself, like you were mentioning initially. The ultimate goal is to be yourself, even with your content. If you're authentic with it, even if you don't have a niche, I don't have a niche. I just talk about everything that I want to talk about. It there is an overarching niche of social impact, but I don't have a specific niche. So even if you don't have a niche, just talk about anything that you feel like you can add value through, and people would love to engage with it because people love to get value, and especially on platforms like LinkedIn, where people are not just coming for personal stuff, they want to be inspired and they want to learn more. So I think the main strategy is just being authentic and sticking to it for a long time, because I've seen a lot of people of my age, of elder age brackets as well, they just quit after a while. I was the same person. I just stuck to it once, and that's how it just became successful. So I think just stick to it and be authentic.
Yeah, love it, love it. Yeah, because today it's not good idea to game system to try to understand these algorithms because they change all the time. Google can change, LinkedIn can change, and if something works today, it doesn't mean it will work tomorrow. And
Mhm.
but when you think about human being, then all algorithms will love your content. So can you tell where you get all these ideas? It's a second struggle that content creators have to find ideas to be consistent. Any insights about that?
Okay, so I think in terms of content, I just I batch create mostly. Other than when I have an event or when I actually learn something on the very day, usually I batch create. I sit on a Sunday and I brainstorm about things that I want to talk about in that week, things which would be personal, things that I'm passionate about, things which would add value, and some which would just add that fun element to a boring feed if you're coming to it after a long day. So I usually take four aspects. I just sit on a Sunday and I write my content. So I think practically whenever I have a creator block, I just observe other people. I think on LinkedIn, there are so many people who are creating such solid content, and we kind of ignore it. So I think honestly, just observing, getting inspired also works very well when you feel like you're having a creator block.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's talk about getting the first engagement. For example, if someone register account and after posting content, nobody cares. Zero likes, probably a few likes. Okay, a few likes, a few comments, not a lot. So tell how to grow. How to grow from completely scratch.
Okay, so I think again, like I was saying, consistency would be one of the major ones. Stick to it for at least 1 month. That's when you'll really realize where you're going wrong and where you're going right. And then just stick to the right for a long time so that you can get the engagement and the followers or the numbers or the opportunities you're looking for. Along with that, I think something I learned through the many courses that I did on LinkedIn was that you also need to have an optimized profile on LinkedIn. I think I've seen yours. It's such a good profile. For so a lot of people can take inspiration from you and from other creators who have such solid optimized profiles, to know that because you need an optimized profile to actually get the followers. If you're looking to get a following, people might read your post, it might appear on their feeds, but what would make them follow you is a completely different story. So how you show your story, how you show your work, how you show your failures as well, is something which would create your optimized profile, and that's when you get your first engagement.
Nice, nice. I see in your profile, do you always post your photos, personal photos? So can you tell how it helps to get this engagement? And because I see posts with your photos get a lot of engagement. Any insights about that?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So when you're understanding other, the platforms, I think LinkedIn pushes pictures a lot. And personally, I've also always felt like I engage more with pictures because I get to know the person behind the post. I feel like there's a humanly connect to them. So I always add pictures, but I try to add equal value to the post, not just adding a random picture, but also adding equal value. Because when you combine the two, that's when people realize, okay, this is a human who's talking about this much value and she's giving this much value. So let's just like her, support her and engage with her. Because if you just post pictures, people after a point of time will realize maybe this is a waste of time. If you only post valuable content, people will love it, but they'll feel like there is some aspect of humanly nature lacking. When you do both, that's when people are like, wow, okay, this is great. So
Nice, nice. Okay, let's talk about creating content. I mean, like combining photos and text, because texts are foundation. People read them, they check out photos. Can you tell how to find the right balance? Because I see some influencers just write, some influencers just share photos. You use both. Any insights how to combine to get high engagement?
So when I'm putting pictures, it's usually when it's related to the text or some event that I actually learned from or whatever I'm talking about in it. When it's text, it's more of deep value, just things that I want to talk about. Like I was saying, I sit on a Sunday and I create my content. That's when I write things that are coming to my head, and if I find a picture which is very very relevant to it, only then do I add it. So I think finding the right balance is relatively easy. Whenever you feel like you don't have a relevant picture, don't post it. Post the content. People might value it much more than a random picture going with that solid content. So I think that's where you find the balance.
Yeah, we have a very active person, Samia Kumari. If I pronounce correctly, I'm sorry, I'm Ukrainian. I'll try my best all the time. But she shares about ChatGPT. What do you think? Is it good idea to use this tool today for content creation?
I have a mixed opinion, honestly. I feel like it can be completely transforming for a lot of industries, included content creation. But I also feel like, again, there would be a lack of a humanly connect. AI can bring everything but a humanly aspect to everything. So I think it might help you getting the text, but for you to actually tell your story, you would also need your own skills and your own emotions to be added to it. So mixed feelings here.
Yeah, got it, got it. Okay, let's talk about choosing the right social media. I see you're super active on LinkedIn. What about other social media? And can you tell for someone who is looking for ways to grow on social media, how to choose the right one?
I think it depends on the person's priorities. I think Instagram is more for personal content, or if you really want to grow as a video content creator. There is no going back from understanding reels on Instagram, right? They are trending. They would take you and they would make you viral. But if you are comfortable with video content, that too, again, solid, good content. For LinkedIn, I think it's a mix of personal and professional. That's why I chose LinkedIn as a platform, because I realized, because I had that stigma in my mind that it's a completely professional platform. You go to it when you're looking for a job. When I landed on the platform, I thought, no, wait, there are humans talking about normal experiences, their lessons, their failures, and their successes. Why am I missing out on this? So that's when I started writing on it, and I realized maybe this is the best platform for me, because I am an ambivert. I haven't transformed into an extrovert even now. And as an ambivert, I'm very comfortable talking to people, even on text, expressing my emotions on text rather than video content. So I think if you are someone who wants to explore video, go for Instagram. If you're someone who wants to grow a personal brand in terms of personal and professional, come on LinkedIn. And I think Twitter is more for expressing your opinion. So have that as a side as well. If you're an opinionated person, use Twitter to express yourself, because a lot of people will be reading your tweets as well. So yeah, depends on your priorities.
And what do you think about repurposing content? Because, for example, Gary Vaynerchuk often shares that you need to be everywhere on all social media. I think, yeah, it's a good approach when you have resources. Because personally, in 2020, I decided to grow my social media accounts, and I tried to be on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Pinterest, name them. And I failed in most results. I felt I get like 5 followers a day, uh, probably 100 views, not a lot. but then I switch all my attention to LinkedIn, a little bit to YouTube, and I got results because of focusing on specific niche. And I think repurposing is a great way when you have resources. Gary Vee has, but he started on Twitter. He started to tweet, according to his sharing, like 7 years. He tweeted and replied to all comments about wine because he promoted this brand for his family business. So, can you tell how to repurpose content? Because if you are active on LinkedIn, I think with your awesome photos, you can do it on Instagram as well.
I feel like I agree with you on this one. If you do have the resources, definitely try to grow everywhere. It's good because you're using less time, you're wasting less time, you're getting an audience everywhere. But personally, my where I lack is time. I do not have the time to be on various platforms because I always feel like even if I'm posting something, I'm not engaging with people. It's like I post and I ghost. And I do not like that. Personally, I feel guilty for doing that. I tried doing that on Twitter, but then I realized no, it's all about creating a community. If I'm not able to go back to that app to read people's comments, their ideas, their opinions, there's no use of growing a community because eventually those people would realize that she's just coming, posting, and going. She has no interest in communicating with us and they'll leave. So where am I, getting the benefit out of it? So I thought, let's just ignore every other platform. Let's just focus on LinkedIn, grow as a person, as a personal brand. And when we are one, which is very, very solid, you'll automatically grow on all the other platforms. Then people
Yeah.
would be looking for your account, for your profiles on other platforms, even if you're not active. So I think that's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, many great influencers like Charlie D'Amelio, she grew on TikTok, then grew on YouTube and Instagram. Many other great influencers because of focusing. When you have resources, you can do it in the right way because it's not only to share the same content. It doesn't work. You need to consider users' preferences. People are different now on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, can you tell how to help companies that are looking for ways to grow on social media, but they have no resources, time, and experience? Because I usually pay attention to SEO. I can provide SEO services, but I tell my customers, please grow your social media accounts. It's indirect factor. It's not like it helps SEO, but it helps because many people check out social media accounts. They open, and some of them are looking for discounts, for getting more trust about your brand, and that's why it's important for SEO. If people bounce your website because your social media accounts look suspicious, without engagement, without a loyal audience. And for me, social media is not only for SEO. It's more about it's another channel where people spend time, 30 minutes a day. So can you tell what companies without experience and time can do on social media? Any insights about that?
Okay, I love the question. It's so interesting. I'm thinking of companies which have a very solid social media marketing, and I'll get back to you on that. Obviously, I'm thinking of it behind, while I'm talking. I think as companies, you also need to have a brand of your own. Not You don't need to just be a company that is selling a product or a service. Just like an ordinary person who needs to have a personal brand, a company also needs to be a brand so that people trust it and they come back to every product you're selling. Honestly, so for that to happen, you will have to create content. And if you don't have the resources, I think hire freelancers, maybe begin in your own small team, start engaging with your audience so that they trust you as a brand. The biggest example I'm coming up with right now is Boat. If you know Boat, it's drastically growing in India, and it's happening because it has a very solid social media marketing. And it's built a brand where every teenager, because their target audience is teenagers and Gen Z, every teenager knows about it. Every teenager is running after the brand, and that has happened because they've got their audience and they've built that trust with us that we are cheap but we have brilliant quality and we'll be there for you ever, forever. Whenever the product goes wrong or whatever happens, we are there for you. And their page is very solid. So I think as a company, you will have to realize that you also need to be a brand. Because any audience, even if we talk about an older audience, the only factor which stays, which makes you loyal customers, is trust, nothing
Hmm.
else. And that trust on online platforms would only come if you show up every day. Maybe, you'd have to figure that social media strategy out. So yes.
Yeah, awesome, valuable. Okay, let's talk about consistency. Can you tell how to be consistent? For example, according to Gary Vaynerchuk, he shares that you need to post as much as possible. If he can 24 hours, 24 times a day, he probably did. But yeah, it depends on time. Uh, According to many other influencers, I see they're not consistent like Gary Vee because they have other resources to get followers, for example, on their businesses or speaking on conferences. So they grow audience, but it's not like to be consistent on social media. Can you tell how to find the balance between being like Gary Vee to post as much as possible and some influencers that, for example, like Cristiano Ronaldo, he doesn't post a lot, but he plays football. People love it. He want to know more about him. Open Instagram and can follow him. Any insights about the balance between that?
I think, firstly, it is important that you're consistent. I won't say every day, every hour of the day. I don't think that's feasible. And eventually, you won't even be as authentic as you are, because you will just be focusing on creating as much content as possible. So the quality would go down drastically. And that will not help you achieve the goal that you're looking for. But consistency in terms of a middle path where you at least post thrice a week, that's the goal I set for myself. Even when I feel like I'm drained and drowned in work, I'm like, no, I also need to be consistent here, otherwise, I'll regret it later. These 15 minutes of laziness would just maybe bother me later on. Why am I doing this? So I think I've kept my goal is 3 times a week at least, and I've stepped to it. For all the people who are listening to this, if it helps, at least keep that middle goal, just because you also need to be accountable. Otherwise, all of us, we do procrastinate. We are all humans. We get tired and we feel like we'll burn out and we leave stuff. And that might cost a lot of opportunities. But in terms of posting every day, not at all. I think if you have a personal brand, like you were talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, people want to also look at you in your spheres. When you're not writing content, what are you up to? So I think people also connect with that. You don't really need to create a lot of content every day, give value every day, even if you are your own person. Even if I'm playing football and not posting, when I do post about it, people will be like, wow, she's also focusing on her thing. So I think it comes down to what you want to show about yourself. For me, I always show that I am an entrepreneur. So even when I'm going for a drive with my organization, I'm not posting about it immediately. I take my own sweet time to post about it, even if it's like a week later. And people get to know, oh, she was there the last week. That's why she didn't post. And people appreciate it. So I think it's letting your audience know and also keeping yourself accountable.
Nice, nice, great. Samia decided to leave us, and but I have so important questions. You touched about quality and quantity. I'm interested about the balance between them because quality is subjective. Nobody knows it's quality or not. Sometimes a few sentences can be quality because people love this content, they engage, share. Sometimes you can create nice looking design, a lot of text, but nobody cares. No, it's not quality. So I don't know how to find the balance between quality and quantity, but I found quantity can help. When you create a lot of content, you can improve confidence, you can get experience how to create content. So tell your tips how to improve quality during the way, and what do you think about finding the balance between quality and quantity?
So I think initially I agree to you. When you're starting out, I think focus on quantity because you're also learning. And if you continue to just feel like I have to put out the perfect content, you won't be able to. I've done that. I've waited for 2 to 3 months to even put out the first piece of content because I thought it's not perfect enough. Where the quality aspect comes into the picture. I think when you're starting out, focus on quantity. You'll gradually learn what works for you, what is not working for you, and you'll also improve on how you express yourself, and that will when your quality will improve. So I think initially quantity, gradually quality. Because once you keep on posting, the algorithm detects you, you reach out to the people, and then you learn how to write actually. That's when you get a community. And that's when you then focus on only providing quality and not quantity. That's when you
Mm-hmm.
just, you continue to build that brand.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I remember the best tip that I got about filming videos was to film 100 bad videos. When you have 100 bad videos, so you have experience to film videos, then you can think more about quality. Because without experience, it's hard to create perfect content. It's impossible to create perfect content, but you have the goal to create perfect content now to go ahead. And you mentioned about perfect enough. Can you explain more about that? What does it mean perfect enough for you?
I think when I was starting out on LinkedIn, I was just thinking about, would people want to read this? Is this socially appropriate? Is my opinion sounding too rude? Is it sounding perfect? All the self doubt and the decreasing self esteem had come into the picture. And I did not post for 2 months because I was thinking of how I could improve this post to be the best one ever. And that's now I realize, and when I look at it, and I'm like, why did I do that? I wasted 2 months of my time in one single post when it didn't even have to be perfect, perfect in terms of, I don't know what standard I was judging it that back then. But I think I was constantly feeling like, what if people don't like the content? So I was fearing that judgment and that fear of failure. But now that I look back at it, I always tell people, don't do that, because all of us have the tendency to do that, especially initially. I don't think you should do that. You're just wasting your time. Get started with it. You'll gradually learn everything on your journey.
Nice, nice. Okay, let's talk about testing. Can you tell how to test that something works, something doesn't work, and in order to find the best approach?
Okay, so firstly, when you're starting out, you have to have your pillars in place. I talk about this everywhere. It's something I'm passionate about. So, if you feel the energy, you should know I'm very passionate about this. So when you're starting out, 2 to 3 ideas or topics you would obviously have in mind, which you are extremely passionate about. Write them down. You do not want to forget them, and you do not want to just randomly niche down, because you'll eventually realize, what am I supposed to talk about one specific topic forever? So have 2 to 3 topics you're passionate about, stick to them, and then have your pillars. Do I want to create informative content? Do I want to create emotional content? Do I want to create, stories in terms of my personal experiences plus connecting it to storytelling? Do I want to give social proof? And then experiment with all of these pillars on your post. And that's when you'll realize, okay, which one of these is doing well, do more of that, and then see what your community is loving about it, and then get feedback. I did this 3 months. I experimented thoroughly with my content. I realized people like to hear my personal experiences. I reached out to 10 people from my follower list and I said, give me feedback. This is an anonymous list, even if it wasn't. I wanted to know what they were telling me, but I didn't want them to feel uncomfortable. So I said, this is anonymous, give your feedback. I would love to know where I should improve. And that's how I started. So I think experimenting and seeing the numbers first, then getting the actual feedback and connecting them can help you understand what works for you.
Nice, awesome, awesome. Once I had a conversation with Jim Edwards. He worked 10 years in Business Insider. He started on this company from scratch. Then companies were sold for $500 million, 1,000 employees, a big company. And he told me their success depends on creating non-boring content. So business is boring niche. Business development, many other things, it's boring. But they decided to create non-boring content. That's why people love it. Google ranks well. Social media shares a lot about their content. They have 1 million people who consume this content. So, can you tell how to create non-boring content that people are not boring? Because the reason why I'm asking about that, many business books, for example, I love reading books, but I found that many books are good for sleeping. When you have problems with sleeping, you can take this book to read a little bit, sleep well all night. You don't need pills. You can save money by buying any medicine stuff. So, any insights about creating non-boring content?
I think that's a very fun question. I do not have the answer to that. I would love to know, because a lot of times I feel like, am I also creating boring content? So I don't know the answer to that, but it's also about experimenting with your own personal style. I've done that. Initially, I used to write very, very connected posts, which were just about my emotions. Gradually, I learned people want to know what was the lesson out of it, not just what I was feeling in that moment. So I gradually realized maybe just talking about emotions is boring content. Value giving and getting lessons out of an experience is maybe non boring content. So I've gradually transitioned in my own way, but I don't think I've reached the point where everything is non boring, because I feel like everybody have so many different subjective interpretations of everything. Maybe when I'm talking right now, people are like, what is she talking? She's so boring. But maybe a lot of people are like, oh, this is such non boring content. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it depends on personality, and as you mentioned, it's better to be yourself. When you play yourself, then for your audience is not boring. For people who are not interested with your personality, it's boring. That's okay. Follow someone else. We have choices today. Okay, I have the question about common mistakes. Can you list mistakes that people still do on LinkedIn, why they can't grow, and how to find a much better way?
Okay, so a lot of mistakes, honestly. I have made all of them, so I actually write them down so that I do not go back to them. The number one would be just posting and ghosting, as I call it. You post, you do not see your comments, you do not engage with other people, and you expect yourself
Mhm.
to grow. It would not happen. Neither on any other platform, honestly, but specifically LinkedIn, where people are talking in the comments. When you see comments, you realize they're pretty active, and you want to add your opinions, you want to take those opinions. If you don't, you will not grow in the long term. Even if you get a lot of followers from that one post, you will realize they are gradually losing interest. So do not post and ghost. Second is, be very consistent in terms of, again, minimum, keep a minimum standard for yourself, stick to it, keep yourself accountable, because algorithms work that way, that even if you're writing some beautiful content, it might not reach the right audience just because you did not get the reach out of it, and you did not get that reach because you weren't consistent. So I think the second thing would be very consistent. Third is, do not follow everyone and all trends. Honestly, I have rarely followed any trends, because I've realized being yourself, being what you are, and connecting it to your story is much more important than writing about trends, because eventually trends mean that there are a lot of opinions on it, and it might backfire. I've realized from observing a lot of people that trends can get you a lot of success or a lot of trolls. You don't want to get in the middle of that just because you need a little bit of success. I think focus on yourself, and you'll have a more larger and a greater shot at becoming successful. So yes, I think those are the three main lessons I've learned and mistakes that people make still.
Nice, nice, great. Yeah, I agree. People usually leave more comments if you reply to the previous comments. According to some data, 6 times more uh, people leave comments if they got reply before. So yeah, I love it. Yeah, and it's hard to find time to reply to comments, but if you want to grow, then do it. If you don't, leave it. Go to another place. People need attention, so it's better to share this attention. Okay, let's talk about you. Can you tell if you started today from scratch? You made mistakes. I personally made a lot of mistakes. I keep doing them. But it's life. I remember when Elon Musk told about mistakes. He told, if you don't make mistakes, you're not innovative enough. And for me, it's important to make mistakes to learn from them. But let's imagine you started from scratch. What will you do today to learn more about LinkedIn marketing?
I think I would firstly just start writing, like get on it right on that very moment, the moment I'm getting an idea. Secondly, would be engaging with a lot of people who are in my similar niche, just because I want to network with them. Again, I realized this very late. Now I do it. I reach out to a lot of people because I'm interested in them as people. Because I'm like, wow, this is a great story. Tell me about it. But I never did that earlier because, like I said, I was an introvert, and I was like, I'm not even talking to people in my real life. How am I supposed to talk to people online? So it was a very difficult transition for me. But I think if I was starting right now, I would do that instantly. I would reach out to people who are leaders in my niche, and I would just talk to them, network with them, learn about them, and just start out. So yes, I think two things I would only do. I would start the minute I get on the platform and engage with a lot of leaders without worrying what if I don't get a reply.
Yeah. By the way, I think you need to start your podcast, to speak with people like on this podcast, because yeah, it's a great way to build relationships. Can you tell your methods how to build relationships with others? Because today it's hard to go ahead alone, but if you have loyal audience, it's not only to reply to their comments, it's more to
Mhm.
having this relationship. Any insights about that?
I think it's very difficult, honestly, because all of us are talking to different people. Our audiences are very, very different. So I don't think there'll be a short answer to it. But I just think that you should get to know their stories as well. Like I was saying, I sent like this feedback form to around 10, 15 people. And I felt like they felt appreciated. And that's how our relationship was formed. Even when I meet, fellow creators offline, I'm like, I have to build a very good relation with them, not just in terms of a very philosophical relation that, oh, we've met so now we are friends, but as genuine human beings. Because when you have a human connection, then online and offline really doesn't matter, because then you're not just creating and consuming each other's content, but you're actually talking to each other as friends or maybe best friends. I've found best friends from my community. So I think connecting with people is very difficult, but try to be relatable in your own way. Do not go out of the way to be relatable, that people can make out. So I think stick to your own self, but also try to like connect with people and start talking. I did that. I did not talk to a lot of people. So I think start talking and you'll realize that wow, there are different personalities. You have to connect with different people in different ways and meet people offline.
Nice, nice, awesome, awesome. Okay, I have the question about the future. Can you forecast the future? What kind of future will be in social media? Because many things are coming, metaverse, augmented reality. I don't know what will be, but I get the question: is it good idea to grow on LinkedIn, on Instagram, or any other platform? Because future will be different, and we need to change habits. Any insights about that?
I think the future would still have social media as a forerunner of personal branding or humanly connections or even influence in general. So I think social media is here to stay. I don't think that AI or metaverse will replace it. I think metaverse and AI will become massive players of the growing industries. And maybe you actually end up being creators on metaverse. Who knows? I think continue and stick to content creation. How it will transform in the future is something which we'll see, because whenever someone asks me, what will be the future if chat gpt takes over, I'm like, it's an interesting question, but maybe it helps me as well. So why assume that they will replace us? Instead, maybe you are able to use that trending technology and grow even more. So I think, yeah, that would be my prediction. I don't know.
I think in the future, I when I retire, I hire AI to keep doing this podcast, and you will have this conversation with uh, AI Anatoly, who will ask all questions. Probably we'll see. uh, just kidding. Okay, I have the final question about your goals, your plans, what you are going to do in 2023 and many other years. So, any insights? You got it, your passion, but your goals, how you are going to grow.
I think I'm still figuring it out. The moment I hear this question, I have this moment of existential crisis where I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I will stick to social impact in throughout my life. I think I will stick to it to the very core, whether it's social impact in terms of breaking taboos, whether it's social impact in terms of sustainable development, but I will stick to it. And I don't know, I want in the future, I want to just be a more confident and happier person. I'm pretty happy in general. Like, I'm usually always smiling, but I think in terms of also being very mentally happy, where I don't have to worry because I'm a very anxious person. I have my moments where I'm extremely anxious about anything and everything. So in the next 10 years, I would want to just be a happier person who is still working in social impact and who would hopefully get featured in Forbes. That's my dream. That's my ultimate dream in life. And I would love to work towards that.
Nice, nice, awesome, awesome. Love it, love it. Palakh, it's a big pleasure to get on my show, to learn from you. I love your content. Guys, you need to follow Palakh on LinkedIn because you can see a lot of valuable insights. Future will be fine when you follow. Keep learning from Palakh. Tell the best way how to reach out to you, how to learn more about you, how to follow you.
I think I am always open to connect on LinkedIn. So, yes, that's the only platform I'm active on.
Nice, nice. Guys, you can find the link to LinkedIn account in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. A big pleasure. I love all your insights. Welcome back anytime to share more value. And guys, thanks for listening and watching us.